So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and tonight I'm joined by Tony. He's the bassist for the band Deserts of Mars, which is a band from Austin, Texas. And and they play that fuzzy stoner rock type of vibe. So, Tony, how are you tonight?
Oh, pretty good. Hope you're doing well also. Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. So, I've listened to the album that's coming out on October the 18th. And, I listened to also your previous albums and EPs that you have. So, for people that do not know the band Desert of Mars, just give us a quick history of the band.
Yeah, we started. It was some coworkers and I at a place. I've been an artist for a long time, like animator for video games. Um, I hadn't been in a band in a while. I've been in bands pretty much since college, off and on. Some industrial bands and stuff like that. And then we started this, and it really just felt right. Like everything kind of came together as this stoner rock band. Um, we kind of had a lot of influences, so we started calling it Mars Metal because everybody
Yeah,
brought different things. It wasn't like, hey, let's just have like Sabbath as a basis, right? Like it was our first album. Like our drummer who did a lot of our artwork, Billy, he's the kind of started the style of art that we have. He was into a lot of kind of new metal and hip hop as well as heavier rock. Our guitarist at the time, Derek, um, he kind of had his own, like he was in a lot of metal and just kind of had a broad range as well. And we just kind of clicked. Derek left, and we got a new guitarist, Bob, and we just kept going. And that's who we recorded the first album with. Um, we've had a bunch of different lineup changes. I've been the steady one. It's kind of been my project, or my band for a little while. There was never any drama. It's just people had life things. Like Billy, his game industry career was taking off, and we've just had various people come through. I've had Morgan as my drummer for quite a while. He's on the last couple of albums, the EP and this new album, Dead Planet Exodus. And we've just been it's just been my creative outlet. Like it's been the music I felt like I wanted to make for so long. It incorporates a lot of my influences, and I play also. I play with a kind of really rhythm guitar oriented kind of bass,
mhm.
so it became kind of this freedom of expression. Like it's the purest form of creativity for me, basically.
Awesome. And so this album is like the second like full length album because I know you had one album and then you
Yes,
had a
true.
three
Yeah,
piece,
yeah,
correct? So this is like the second.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been a while because the first one came out I think 2011 if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, we've had, finding the right. It's been strange. I've had friends who have bands who they were, they find people immediately and they get it back together, but it's been harder than I had perhaps wanted to find just the right people who had the right
Mhm.
drive, the right fit for what we wanted to do. Um, I'm not a taskmaster about that, but just like finding the right people to vibe was maybe more challenging than I wanted to. But yeah, it's been a long time in the making. Unfortunately for our last EP, right when we released it, we are about to play a big show at South by Southwest, and then COVID hit. And
Mm.
so we released it. I think everybody has kind of similar stories from that time, musicians especially. And
Oh yeah,
so
I've talked to
there was some
countless
momentum
musicians.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there
Mhm.
was some like we had this cool show. There was momentum building. We just released the EP. I think it was like October, November. Um, and everything seemed to kind of be picking back up, and then all the stuff happened, and then there was a lot of loss, um, and eventually my guitarist and good friend who's on the EP, Bradley, had to leave the band when we were recording Dead Planet Exodus. He just had a lot of stuff going on in his life, and making choices, what to do. Is music part of that? So I kept as much of his guitar as possible on the album, and he helped write all the songs. Like we were very close, um, but we had to finish it with other musicians. Jeff Klein came in. He's been in a bunch of Stoner rock bands here in town and elsewhere, and Jeff Henson, who was our producer, also played guitar as well. Moving forward with this idea, it, and it was ended up being this concept album based partially on metaphor for Dead Planet being kind of where we were at, losing kind of all our momentum and everything, and then
An exodus.
also, yeah, and then trying to get back out of that, right? Like continue and keep a band together. And so the concept album of these crashonauts crash landing and then having to get off is also the metaphor for this, time period that we had, and then trying to get back to where we were and further. In Crimson Mountain, they say, take our place among the stars, right? Like I think every band kind of wants that trajectory. So that's kind of the theme of it.
Yeah, no, I read, it's a concept record. And when is South by Southwest usually in Austin? Because I've been to Austin, but I haven't been to a festival, but I know it's a huge festival. When are they having that again?
I think if I'm not mistaken, it's every March. So
Yeah.
around March,
So,
we have it.
so next year you gotta play it.
I'm hoping. We played a bunch of. It's actually lately. It's kind of been cooler to play unofficial South by Southwest shows. So shows that
Oh,
take place during South by Southwest. That's usually actually where we've had the most success. And there's been some really good ones. Stoner Jam being our big one that we have. Tom from the band Duel helps put that on along with other people and helping out. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to be back full force. We're continuing to play as much as possible. We had a really great gig this past Saturday, and people were really enjoying it. When you get feedback like, "Oh, this is exactly what I needed," for that night, that's where all the blood, sweat, and tears, and all the practices, and paying the bills and doing all the work, driving to the club, setting up, all that's worth it when somebody's having a great time like that. That's really why we do it.
Yeah, and this type of music, stoner rock, even though it's a concept record, stoner rock is usually like a feel good type of music.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, it's at least for me, like it's got that vibes to the music. So this has taken a while. How long have you been writing this record for?
Let's see. We started putting together the pieces probably not too long after we finished the EP. Definitely we had so basically the way it works usually is we record riffs, while we're at practice. So we practicing our song, practicing our set. I'll either come up with a riff or somebody else will, or I'll say, hey, give me a drum beat. I'll come up with that. We record it. I put some label on it, make up a random name depending on how I feel. That goes in our Google Drive, and then we come back to it. And so we just started picking out those riffs and then solidifying it. There's folders like set 2022, like stuff like that. And then we start to hone that. But probably started right around, not too long after lockdown. And then we just continued with that. The record's been done almost a year because it took me a while to find our new guitarist, Coda, and prepare for all of that. So during that time was getting the album art done. I'm constantly just trying to do something, trying to make sure that we're moving ahead. So getting album art done, getting the layout, everything like that. We set it up for CD size as well as album size. Just making sure that we're constantly at least moving forward with whoever's there. So little probably as far as writing goes, it's probably a couple years starting from just the basic riffs, and then like I said, it's been done not quite a year, but it's been done for a while. um,
And
unfortunately.
and Austin, Texas is a very musical town.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I remember when I went there like years ago, like there's clubs for like to play like all types of music. So it's a super musical town. So you mentioned influences, like which bands, like, because listening to this, obviously Black Sabbath, obviously must
Oh, of
be,
course, of
it's
course.
like
Yeah.
it's like the blueprint for every like metal band. I think they're the blueprint for almost every style of metal, at least like I would say, stoner, heavy, uh, I would say even like progress. They did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like which like for you, like growing up when you were getting into music, like what bands really got you into
Oh
music?
man. Um, it's I grew up in a really tiny town, so I just had to find random stuff would come through, and then I had a stepbrother and a cousin who were into metal, and so I slowly built up my, what I liked. But starting with probably like Rat and White Snake and stuff like that, and then progressing almost directly into Metallica. Anthrax were huge fan. I was a huge fan of those bands. And Fastway, for example. I'm trying to think, like, I like a lot of different stuff. So I was also, Killing Joke is a big thing. Soundgarden, especially early Soundgarden, was really big for me. Voivod was a huge influence. I don't know how much you hear that in our music, but that was a big awakening because also their drummer also did a lot of their art, and that kind of combo of metal and art really appealed to me. That's one of the reasons I got into doing computer animation. Motorhead, of course. Once I discovered that kind of almost rhythm guitar, super mids, very fuzzy kind of distorted, uh, bass. That really did it for me as well. I should send you. I actually have this playlist on Spotify that's called "The Roots of Mars Metal," and it's basically like this Spotify
It's all your
playlist of like,
influences.
yeah. I give it out to people, and then also to, like, if there's somebody who's going to join the band, I'm like, listen to this playlist if you want to get inside my head of what I'm doing. And I also, like I said before, though, I listen to a lot of industrial music, Skinny Puppy, Godflesh, Ministry. Um, that kind of comes out in the song Illuminati, for example. That has some kind of industrial roots. Of course, Doom, like Trouble. I dig bands like Wrathchild America. Um, I don't know. My playlist actually, when if I use Amazon Prime as my streaming service, and if you put my playlist on, it's all over the map. You'll be like, wait, what? There's a pop tune, and then like this really like a soundtrack piece, and then like something really heavy, and then you know maybe something off the first White Lion album, Fight to Survive, for example. Like it's Thin Lizzy, definitely. I think there's a little bit of unintentional, and then became more intentional Thin Lizzy influence in the song Never that's on the album. It opens big, has a lot of harmony. Uh, I like all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and pop, some people are afraid of pop music, but there's some great pop music out there.
I mean, it
More,
appeals to people for a reason, like
yeah,
they sell out arenas.
that's why they were popular. Uh,
Exactly.
so, but also hearing the band, and I know the band, you're also into sci-fi.
Oh yeah.
What type of sci-fi? Is it like old school sci-fi?
Oh, I watched. I am all the way back to uh, black and white era 50s sci-fi up until brand new stuff. And we're also in a similar vein. Monster Magnet's also one of those big influences. And Dave sings about all the things I like: comic books, sci-fi, everything. Like, so having that is there.
Have
But
you
yeah,
guys
I
ever
watched.
toured together with Monster Magnet? Or
No, that would be amazing. I would love to do that. That's on my bucket list for sure. um but yeah, like anything I'm also a huge movie buff. I was just at a film festival, and I watched like during the week at that film festival. It's called Fantastic Fest. I watched like 33 movies. So
Wow. Which movies
so
did you watch?
I watch as many movies as possible.
What movies were playing in the festival?
A lot. It's a genre film festival, so there's a lot of sci-fi, a lot of horror movies, a lot of you know some darker movies, some lighter movies, but a lot of, it's a genre film festival, so lots of horror, lots of sci-fi, lots of martial arts kind of stuff, and any combo between there.
Talking about sci-fi, did you see the last Alien movie, the Romulus one?
Oh yeah, it was really great. I
Yes.
enjoyed it a lot. It's done really well. Yeah, I'm a big Alien fan, and you know, in fact,
Yeah,
during lockdown, one of my big things was we got a projector so we could watch movies because I couldn't go to the movies anymore. That was our kind of our Christmas present to each other. So yeah, I keep really late hours. I have a lot of insomnia, so all of those movies and everything kind of definitely percolate in my head. I mean, the song "Crash Down" is kind of the beginning of it as a love letter
the
to
beginning of
you
the
sing.
album, and it feels
Yeah,
like it's like the story. It's like a ship crashing down on a planet. So yeah,
yeah,
it's an interesting. So when I was listening to this album, I got like it feels like stoner desert, but it feels like you're in a desert in this planet. Uh,
great,
like maybe like The Martian. Remember that movie with
right?
Matt? Well, I actually read the book,
Oh yeah, it
but
is really good.
I read the
Yeah,
book
the beginning's
after I
like
saw
Pitch
the
Black,
movie.
was I was gonna say. Like if you
Oh,
remember the
Pitch
movie
Black.
Pitch Black, and like that that initial crash scene, that's what we were trying to capture. That was what was in my head when I
Yeah,
started
the
writing
one
it.
with Vin Diesel,
Yeah,
uh, the Riddick character. I remember Pitch Black, but after that, I didn't follow that character that much. Uh,
sure.
but yeah, so it's interesting, yeah, that you fuse the love of sci-fi and all that into the lyrics. So when you did you always know that this record was going to be a concept album, or is it something that just happened organically?
It was really organic. The way I usually write lyrics, it happens not exactly last, but what as I was saying, describing how we write. Um, a lot of times I'll want a vocal melody, so I'll start recording a vocal melody while we're playing. I'll sing into the mic, and some of those bits kind of stick together and form the basis of lyrics. Or I'll listen to it again and again and go, I really think this is how these lyrics should be. Like Temple of the Rain, I think I sang that lyric. Like Temple of the Rain, I had this idea in my head. It formed this safe oasis in the middle of this desert where everything was really harsh, and so the Temple of the Rain would be this oasis in the middle of that, and that formed the basis of that. But as far as a concept album, it really formed as I was starting to write the lyrics and things started to come together. We still had songs like Temporal Vampires and Shaluminati that don't fit exactly in the narrative, but they kind of feel in the right place. Um, and I spent a lot of time actually like making sure the flow of the album fit really well. In fact, I kind of argued with our producer a little bit, um, saying it Crash Down has to be first. Like it tells the story, it sets the pace,
Yeah.
but it's not the most like it's not the grab you high energy song like for example that Crimson Mountain is. So
Mhm.
he's like, hey, you want to hit people initially. I'm like, no, I yes, I agree. But let's put Temple of the Rain up higher, for example, and that'll be the high energy kind of intro. But yeah, it was really an organic process. It just felt right, and I really love concept albums too. Like one of the all-time greats has to be Operation Mindcrime. I think
I
is
think
you
that's one
can't
of the
get much better than
greatest.
that.
Yeah, I would agree. I would hands down say that that's the best concept album ever. I don't know why they did part two. They should
Yeah,
have
I'm with
left
you.
it. they should have left it at one because the first one is perfect. Part two, they just fucked it up.
I was kind of I once DeGarmo left, some of the songs are great, and I saw them live last year, I think it was, and they were awesome. But
Oh, the
there's a little bit of that lineup was something special, right?
yeah,
That
their new
original
singer. Well,
Queensryche
he's not
lineup.
new anymore, but he's really. What's his name? Oh, I forgot his name. I saw. I think Chris Ranch twice. I saw them back in 2009 in Puerto Rico, once
Oh
where they
wow.
still had George Tate. But
Mhm.
and you know what? You wouldn't believe me. That concert was it was in a big coliseum, and it was pretty empty. I don't know why, and it was
Oh
Queensryche,
wow.
and I couldn't believe it. But then I saw them with Todd La Torre when I was
Mhm.
living in Miami, and I gotta say, Todd La Torre is killing it on vocals. Uh, I still
Oh
like
yeah.
their older stuff better, but the Queensrÿche is putting up some cool out. They had a few cool albums with Todd La Torre. Uh,
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah,
Plus,
I lucked out and got to see them on the Empire tour,
ooh,
and they were
nice. Yeah.
touring with Suicidal Tendencies right after Trujillo joined. So both bands were firing on all cylinders. It was an amazing show. They did all of Mindcrime, and they bookended it with Empire stuff on either side of that. That was that was an amazing tour. Probably one of the best tours I've ever seen. But even when I was growing up, there were concept albums like the War of the Worlds concept album uh, is part of that with
Based
played
on
on
the
the
book, right?
radio. Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting the art actually it's worth getting the LP of that one because the artwork is really fantastic. But
Who's the
stuff
band?
like that was really influenced. Um I am trying to think it was a particular composer and now I'm drawing a blank.
Mhm.
And now that I'm on the spot, my brain's like blanking.
Yeah,
But
because I don't know that one. Yeah.
it was in the late I want to say it was late 70s.
Oh,
Um it was really interesting and the fact some of it ended up on the radio is is pretty was pretty bizarre for the time. The radio is just kind of a different vibe at the time. But if there's so many like Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, all of that stuff like came about. Even Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy has a tiny bit of a concept of this overmind, overlord, and then breaking out uh, you know, from his control, that kind of stuff. So all of that stirs in my head when I think about writing.
yeah. No, but it's good that you're a fan of concept records. And concept records can be or really good, or there's if the concept doesn't hit, it can be bad.
Sure.
So you want a concept but the concept of like, because as you're explaining the concept of the record, desert planet, and and the Exodus part of having people in the band leaving. So it's kind of like a concept record about like that planet and also what happened with the band. So it's
Oh yeah,
actually cool.
absolutely. I try to
The
put a
story.
lot of metaphor into what I write. Like some things are really straightforward, but also as I'm writing, I've always been a big fan of being able to read lyrics and kind of draw your own conclusions. So I don't
Yeah.
always explain what I want because I want people to listen and kind of think about it in their head, like that idea that we always got when you got a new album and you were staring at the cover and you were looking at the artwork and you were forming all of these ideas based on what you heard in the lyrics. um, I like that idea of discovery, so I don't always like to explain. Like I want to let people get what they want out of it. You know, again, some things are more explicitly explained than others, but yeah, but it's definitely that was the theme. It works as a story. I also wrote a couple of comic books with friends of mine. So that type of comic storytelling and that just storytelling in general is also always part of what I love. And then not, like I said, growing up with like Anthrax, who were singing about Judge Dredd, and they were singing about Stephen
Yeah.
King, and then I learned about history through Iron Maiden, Alexander the Great, like all of that stuff formed my opinion of what cool music is.
No, totally. And bands like Rush
Absolutely.
also did a lot of stuff like that. And you mentioned Stephen King, but I've read a lot of Stephen King novels because my grandfather like was super into them, and he just metal bands. He's
Mhm.
mentioned like I was reading the Dark Tower series, which I think
Oh, I love that series.
yes, you know that I haven't finished. I, I just have to finish the last book. There was a part in life happened.
Sure.
I had a daughter, but like I was really into that story, and he mentioned anthrax and
Hmm.
some other stuff on it. So yeah, I think it's a real cool like it's so the thing is it's so bad that Hollywood just did like one movie like when
Oh
it's like
yeah.
9 books like that. I'm thinking that I was reading somewhere that they're going to actually make a proper series. I hope
Hmm.
HBO picks it up because that needs to be like a series, not like a movie. 90, how can you cram 10 books into 90 minutes? There's no way. There's
Yeah, and there were a lot of kind of strange choices with the movie, but yeah, by all
I never
reports,
saw
the
it
new
because it
series,
looked like crap. Yeah.
it's it's not bad, but it's not the Dark Tower. Like, had it not been the Dark Tower that we know, it has elements, of course, and the actors are great. Like, they had really good actors, like given the script. However, I hearing about the production of the new series, I feel I'm cautious. Let's say just say I'm cautiously optimistic. So I think it's
Yeah,
going to be
because
good.
it's got to be a series because that's
Absolutely.
it's so I would watch it because it's there's so much material and there's so many series now that they have done through like games like I was really into The Last of Us. I
Hmm.
played the video game and I thought that series was the best zombie show out there.
It is really good.
Yes, because like every other zombie show, like The Walking Dead, they never explain shit. You plus it was like the I don't even know what they were so afraid of. They had the slowest zombies ever. Uh like
I
but
kind
it
of like the slow zombies, but I'm with you in that I like the game is really good for Last of Us, and the series really captured it because it's really hard to capture the because of the interactive portion of games. It's really hard to capture that in a film or
yeah.
on screen because
And I like
yeah.
how they explain the infection of the fungi because it kind of
Mhm.
make you think like like watching that I'm like that could happen.
Oh, there's fungi that do something similar.
I know they
There's
explained it in
yeah,
the first episode
it's true. Yeah.
to ants, but you know it couldn't happen to humans. But if it happens, I hope that I'm dead.
Yeah.
So
And going further back to that, what we're talking about, there's
mm,
always a little bit of influence. For example, "Cities on Fire"
mm,
on the first album is a love letter to. There's an anime called Fist of the North Star,
mhm.
and also Mad Max, which Fist of the North Star is influenced by Mad Max. So it's uh, a lot of that. Like I have a lot of. I'm like I said, I'm very geeky about that. I'm a huge manga fan, a huge anime
Yeah,
fan. Like
yeah. I
that's
haven't
been a
seen the
major
new
part of
Mad
me.
Max, the Furiosa, the newer
It's
one. I
pretty
never.
good. I liked it.
I gotta see it. I gotta see it. I haven't seen it. I saw the one before that.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're cool movies. So yeah, you're influenced by like games. Uh, there's a I love to read sci-fi as well. Like any interesting sci-fi books that you read that maybe inspire you for a future album.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I haven't. To be fair, I've mostly read comics and manga lately, so I haven't sat down with a good novel. Um, I'm trying to think what were the big ones when I was growing up. Um, Oh, again, I'm drawing a blank because I have a shelf full of stuff.
Yeah.
But I also read a lot of fantasy, like the Black Cauldron series. Um,
Oh, me too. When I was young.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
remember, I think that's the darkest Disney movie ever. I couldn't even believe that
oh
the
yeah,
Black Cauldron was dark.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of cyberpunk, so a lot of things like you know, a lot of William Gibson. Mona Lisa Overdrive was a big one. The Hardwired series was great. Uh, yeah, anything. I just was an avid reader. Again, horror like Clive Barker, Stephen King, um, a lot of the greats. Of course, Philip K. Dick. You can't go wrong with him. Asimov. The Stainless Steel Rat series is great. There's a lot of really good humor. Stuff like Michael Moorcock's Elric. Um, of course, the Conan books. All of that stuff. Was part of. I was at the library a lot. Probably wasn't the most popular kid. I was very dorky, but
Yeah, so
all that feeds into the drive to create music and kind of get out there. Like, obviously I wasn't alone when I, again, like I said, when I saw Anthrax singing about comic books and Monster Magnet, talking about Children of the Atom and Kirby and all of these references that I was able to catch. It's like, oh
yeah.
look, it's this person, we're on the same wavelength. um, you know, Clutch has a lot of stuff about mythology, and they're really good storytellers. And so all of those things kind of are, springboard me to write more stuff like that.
No, and there's a lot. There's metal bands like I remember when Mastodon did Leviathan, which was like inspired by Moby Dick.
Oh yeah,
And oh, and there's a band called Ahab that they did an album. I think it was 2 years ago, and it's all about inspired by 2000 Leagues Under the Sea.
oh yeah. Well, also, I like a lot of their stuff, but I'm not their biggest fan. But I was impressed with Coheed and Cambria and the way that they're writing novels and graphic
Oh yeah,
novels, and they're telling these stories. And I'm like, to me, that would be perfect if I could take the
yeah.
graphic novels and stuff that I
Claudio
write, and
just
then
has
also
an
stuff.
acquired taste. Like his voice
Yeah.
can be a little bit pitchy and annoying, like Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins. So,
Mm.
but I love them. But yeah, yeah, he. Sometimes I can follow the story, but but yeah, he comics. So, is it something that you want to do with the band that you want to like in the future, like release comic books that has to do with the story of the albums? Is that
we
something that you have in mind?
we had talked about it, and also when I was, when I had the comic books that I did before, I was trying to see if we could do. It didn't pan out, but my dream would be, go do signings and stuff before the shows, and then
Mhm.
play at night. That would be the perfect. If I could pave my way, I would do that. That would be awesome. But in general, I mean, that would be cool. We talked about it because we have a whole uh, collection of characters from like the first album, like Mina, the space woman, is the space chick who's on the front
Mhm.
cover. There's the Rocktopus Queen, and there's these things, the Roctopi, the Rocktopus. We had this Martian. So Billy and I were actually talking about more of a narrative with all of those characters. But we never really sat down to kind of write that and put it together.
Yeah, you
But
never
yeah,
know.
there's always I don't know if it happened, it would have to happen organically, but there's
Yeah,
always the idea that we could do that. Yeah.
maybe you could do like a series of albums. I'm giving that like every album focus on one character, like a
Oh, that'd be
backstory.
awesome. That'd be
It's
fantastic. Yeah.
a lot of work, but yeah. So I want to show the artwork of the record, which is pretty cool. So here we have the artwork for the record that's coming out on the 18th, Desert of Mars, Dead Planet Exodus. So tell me a little bit about the artwork.
So I wanted something that reflected this feeling. Since I've done art a lot myself, I put together kind of a collage of kind of how I wanted the album to look. And then I had a good friend. I worked at a company called Rooster Teeth, working in as a tech person. You know, uh, and keeping things going tech wise. Since I'd worked in animation, I could speak animator and I could speak programmer, so I was a lot of times the liaison between them. So this woman, Sana Freeman, she is a fantastic concept artist. She worked. The latest thing she was working on was a cartoon called Invincible, which I think is on Prime, if I'm not mistaken. And so I asked her, like, hey, we work together. I know you're a great concept artist. She was kind of between gigs, between seasons. And I said, hey, could you take this idea I have and turn it into this cool thing? So, and again, you see, like, there's all the creatures. There's little crastronauts on there. Um, the vultures made of thunder come in from the Temple of the Rain, the song. I had this idea. So all of these are, it's not as involved as, say, Somewhere in Time, for example, which has just Easter egg after Easter egg and little bits. That's one of my favorite album covers. Iron Maiden Somewhere in Time is just full of little bits. So
Oh
our
yeah,
cover,
Iron Maiden. Sometimes you like. I'm trying to think like from them, which one I think is like the lamest album cover. I think Dance of Death from 2003 is a bad album cover.
oh, oh yeah, I had forgotten. Yeah, I mean, once they kind of got away from their usual, there's a lot of varying degrees of, I think everybody, really tries to do a good job, but and you never know, because also studios sometimes enforce, uh, there's a Metal Church album, Hanging in the Balance, which has one of the just this terrible cover, but the studio made them take that cover, and it just always hurt me once I found out, like, wait, they can do that. But us being DIY, we get to choose. I really wanted this to stand out.
Yeah,
Um,
and I like it that you have the boom boxes. Yeah.
oh yeah, I just wanted this. I wanted that epic feel. Like, I had this idea for this. The temple would also be this, sonic. I wanted everything to kind of go back to sound. So I described like sonic weapons in Crimson Mountain, and I always thought the Crashonauts would wield, would look like guitar and drums and like shoot lasers out of them or whatever. I have a little bit of concept art I haven't fleshed out for that, but I
At least
wanted
you didn't
this
say
idea.
Temple of Boom because that's a Cypress Hill
Yeah.
that's a Cypress Hill record.
Right. But yeah, it came from these ideas of, various influences I had, and Sana just did just a fantastic job. She sent me the roughs, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. We're gonna do this awesome thing. The back cover has the Crimson Mountain with the rocket taking off at the end, and all of that. And when I animated the lyric videos, I was actually able to take her Photoshop document and take it all apart, put that into After Effects and animate it. So I was able to use the cover again to kind of do animation off of it. And that I included, there's little crashonauts that appear, for the Temple of the Rain video. There's little crashonauts that appear, and all of the monsters that are on the front cover are headbanging and stuff like that. Like, if you really look at the 4K one that's up on YouTube, like, you can see all these
I'll post the link for
bits.
people to watch that video.
That's great. Yeah, but that's all the stuff I nerd out about. Like, half the people probably won't even notice that. But as I was animating, like, I'm like, oh, I'll put this little bit in. I had mentioned it elsewhere, but like, there's even like one Crashnaut that appears in the video, and he's like the guy who shows up late to your show. Like, and he like shows up and he's like not headbanging in time, and then he notices, and like, I don't know. Again, you'll
And
probably
then he
never notice
shouts to
that.
you to play a song that's already been played.
Yeah, right.
or, or
Uh,
or something like that. No, but yeah,
yeah.
this is a cool album artwork. So, something that I've always found fascinating for people that they put in the stoner rock label because I think people actually would assume if you play stoner rock, you have to be a stoner. But I don't think that's the case.
I
Like,
mean, I am not. I don't really drink that much either. Like, I go to bars. There was, in fact, one bar that I played at with another band, and they usually they'll give me drink tickets, and I'll get a soda or whatever. And later on, like there was one bar that had coffee, like cold brew coffee, and that's where I used like I got everybody's drink tickets, and I was well caffeinated. But yeah, I don't really. I mean, like I'm in bands, you know. There's I don't really care what anybody does. Smoke pot, drink, enjoy yourself. As long as you're not hurting yourself or other people, it's
Hmm.
great. As long as you're putting on a good performance, whatever. But for me, yeah, I we joked a lot that I was, we were some of the few non-stoners in the stoner rock genre.
No, yeah, because you're fully lucid and talking because I once talked in this channel to a like a stoner rock band from Italy, and they were smoking while we were talking.
Sure.
Uh, and some of the
I mean,
stuff that they were saying didn't make even sense.
like I said, I try not to judge whatever
Yeah,
gets you through the day. As long as you're not hurting yourself or others, I'm totally cool with whatever. Those are my personal choices. But you go to a lot of shows, and hey, if people are having a good time, who am I to judge,
yeah,
right? But for me
yeah.
personally, it always is this like, yeah,
So
we're in stoner rock, but I'm not as much of a stoner. I don't. We don't have that iconography, and we don't have a Sweet Leaf song, even though that's an
yeah, no,
amazing
you're not.
song.
Oh, but you're not gonna do like a Bruce Dickinson song where he's going to be
Right?
complaining like people are smoking in
Oh
the
yeah, no,
club.
no, 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 no. I
Can you
love
imagine
when I
being
go
in
to a
a
club and
concert
people are having a good time.
and Bruce Dickinson shouting at you like like and then
I,
he'll take his
yeah,
yeah
I
because
that didn't
he's a fencer.
sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I
he'll
get it that he's trying to be healthy and everything, and but
yeah,
also like, hey, come on, it's a metal show. Like,
it's
you
a
kind of
metal
know what
show.
happened. It's not like you haven't been to a lot of metal shows where there's uh the haze isn't just from the fog machine, right?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
fog machines aren't out in the crowd. We know where that's coming from. Come on.
We know where that fog machine is coming from. So something that I like and you being the bassist, the bass tone on this record is like you say, like very fuzz and like almost like an
Mhm.
electric guitar. Tell me a little bit like about how you like to play the
So
bass.
actually, I mean, on the EP, we dialed it back a little bit, but ever since I started, um, my initial pedal setup was kind of the Cliff Burton pedal setup. So in fact, I have a '70s power wah. It's huge. It's it uses a three-prong cord, um,
Mhm.
and the Big Muff. So that was the sound that Cliff Burton had was the power wah, silver power wah, Big Muff, original Big Muff though, by the way, like the green Russian, Big Muff. So I took that. When we were without a guitarist for a little while, I actually was like, hey, could we do this as a two piece? I don't know if we can. So I set up my pedal board so that I have a really fuzzed out rhythm guitar side that goes into a
Mhm.
Marshall. There's a Marshall called Marshall DBS, and I think the bassists from Muse used to use DBSs as well. I found them because there was a band called Damad that was in Savannah when I was going there. A lot of those members eventually formed Kailasa,
Oh,
um,
that band.
and I went to their practice space, and this Marshall DBS, it has this huge knob, and the cabinet that they were playing through was just it would shake the whole floor as your vision would shake. It was so
Mhm.
loud. So when I formed this band, I found one of those, and then the bass side, the kind of more Cliff Burton side, if you will, goes into an orange Terror and an Ampeg. And so I have this sound that basically fills it, and it allows us to kind of fill out the sound in uh, in a club setting. So
Mhm.
yeah, I have to haul more amps, but also it gives the guitarist time. Like I can handle some of the rhythm guitar frequencies, and then he can play the solos over that. So that works really well as a three piece. As we were recording the album, the EP is a little less fuzzy than that. But I was talking to Jeff Henson, our producer, and I said, "Hey, I want to add back a little bit more of that fuzz." and he's really good about recording and then reamping with the appropriate amount, sonically where everything fits. And so that was a big deal for me. I've always loved that kind of fuzzed out sound. And once I heard Motorhead, I was like, oh yeah, that's the tone for me. It was kind of unintentional. Jason Newsted was also one of my influences, along with Misfits and, like I said, Voivod. There's a bunch of that kind of all mixed in, and I kind of just found my own way. I'm self-taught. I took some lessons here and there, but as far as what I wanted to do, I've a lot of, like I said before, what I found why I formed Deserts of Mars was, fitting in with a band where they wanted a more traditional bassist. Like that was always kind of a challenge. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I was in a band with my wife as well, where we didn't have a guitarist. I had a 5-string that I restrung, and I played basically guitar, bass, and she
What
played
did your
regular
wife
bass.
did your wife play an instrument or sang?
Yeah, she played bass and sang, and I played
No.
what I quoted as guitar bass. So I put it through guitar effects and everything. But uh, I've said it in a few places. We met through Musicians Wanted ad, actually. So she is a musician for a long time, and we got our start kind of playing in some kind of gothy uh, songs, and then our last band, Rise from Fire, we had together. But yes, so it's nice though, because she also understands what it takes to be a musician. So if I have to go out to a bunch of gigs, or go on a tour, or schedule things, like she's there in my corner, which is pretty fantastic. Like she understands the life of a musician.
You both have a love for music as well.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, her first degree, she got a degree. She doesn't do music as much now, but her first degree was in music composition. So
Awesome. Yeah.
as far as classical trained musicians, she's a way better musician than me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So the like when you finished the record, did you show it to her like well like her the first critic like honey, what do you think of the
Oh
record?
yeah, that's always scary because she's not as into. We're not exactly into the same music all the time. She likes a lot of it, but I tend to buy a lot more music and listen to a lot more bands. I'm constantly buying new CDs, like, uh, but that's always. She gets to hear some of it as it comes along, and she actually did backing vocals on the EP. There's a couple, like Black Leather. She did backing vocals and a couple other songs, and so I got her to do that. Like ask her, but this one not. Actually, my brother-in-law did some backing vocals. He's also a really good bassist, really good singer as well. But yeah, that initial like, "Hey, honey, do you like this?" Is always scary, especially since she's not always a stoner rock. Like she doesn't listen to every stoner rock album I have, right? Um, I when I know something's good when it gets stuck in her head. I
Mhm.
think her favorite is Midnight Comes. It's a little darker, it's a little heavier, uh, but I've caught her like singing some bits, or she'll come in one morning and it's like, the chorus for this one song stuck in my head. Look what you've done. And
Yeah.
I know it's good then. Like if it's catchy enough that she is, thinking about it, then I know I've done my job. Like we've done a good
Yeah.
job of that.
Awesome. I thought Illuminati was an interesting one. I just Illuminati. It's like I thought it was like a shield Illuminati. Was that the play on the
Yeah.
words?
So we, I think the initial idea of that name came up. Morgan just threw it out there because we needed to name the riffs something. Like, oh, Illuminati. But it's this idea of uh, this, like, all of these really, really rich people aren't hiding how terrible they are to people anymore. So they're
Oh
shilling
no,
for a
no,
product.
no.
So like the idea is this, he threw that
We
out, and I was
all
like, you
know
know what, I
now
can
that
write
you
that.
don't want to
Yeah,
be stuck in a Diddy party.
right. And so this idea that they're not even, it's not a hidden society anymore. It's this,
No.
like, and so when he threw out that thing, I was like, you know what, I can really work with something in those lyrics. I'm constantly appalled. And you kind of look around and you want to go, like, you're seeing this, right? Like, you're seeing how terrible these things are, how what they're doing to people, and, to poor people, and what they're doing to the environment, et cetera. And the fact that, and I'm, I'll admit, I have an Amazon account. I have,
Me too.
I'm a part of it as well. I have to admit, but I try to do things to offset that. But we're all being kind of pushed around by these forces, and that was the idea of Shilluminati, is just this everything shilling, and they're all shilling for this thing, and they're telling us, and we're still kind of doing whatever we do. And the final lyrics, all we'll have is ash. We'll choke on ashes and gold. That'll, if we don't watch out, that's where we're headed, if they have their way. So that was definitely, and like I said, it had the doom. I like a lot of doom metal, and then a little bit of that Ministry industrial kind of vibe, Skinny Puppy vibe. Like, there was, especially the initial riffs, kind of had that I just wanted that, and and it kind of came out. People seem to dig on that one too. So
Yeah, it's a cool single, and just the word Illuminati. It's like it's it was a cool word to use. So we are almost at the year end. We're in October now. So do you have any favorite records that have come out this year?
ooh, that's a good one. I have bought a lot of stuff. Um, Dozer, definitely. I'm a big Dozer fan. Um, I was just at Ripple Fest, and there was a band. If I remember, I think it's Otolith, if I remember correctly. Um, I buy so much stuff. We're talking about Queensryche. I just bought the Mindcrime box set they put out. That's like a bunch of CDs. There's a Thin Lizzy box set, 1976, that just came out. Um, my friends in Mean Mistreater put out an amazing like rock album. I buy a lot of local bands, a lot of our scene. Um, Unfortunately, the what could be the final Destroyer of Light albums came out, and I bought those. Slumbering Sun. I know I'm throwing out a lot of locals, but there's Orange Goblin. That's an
Oh,
amazing. Their
I know.
albums are always
Yeah, I know
amazing.
that band. Yeah.
And I don't know. I have a stack in the side over there of albums. There's been a lot of great tunes that have come out. I'm trying to think what because I listen to so much. I'm trying to think what came out like this year as opposed to past years. But Haunt also has been releasing. I really like Haunt, and they're good people too. Savage Master, also great. Uh, I don't know. I get a constant stream of cool music. I thought it was fascinating going back to horror. I think the new Uncle Acid was an interesting experiment to make basically a giallo movie as an album. I know that that's a really divisive one. People like, I don't know if I get this whole movie idea, but to record it all of the movie parts in Italian with with almost no translation, and I can't imagine pitching that to the label and having that hit. But I I liked it, but I could see why not everybody would be into that. Um, but yeah, that's the ones off of my head. But like I said, I have a stack of stuff.
No, it's
Mammoth, I think Mammoth, it was Acid Mammoth, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I don't know. I
you
listen to
cons
music all the time.
I can tell that you're a music fan and you consume music. It's good because sometimes I talk to some musicians, they're like, "Oh, I don't have time to listen to anything." And it's kind of like,
Right.
I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that people listen to other stuff because I think it inspires you to create as well.
It's always that thing of where you want, to me it drives me to create. Mammoth Caravan is
Oh, okay.
another cool band. They're great. Um, the it There's always that drive to create. And I always kind of in the same way that I watch a ton of movies. Like that music always inspires me, and I'll go in different moods. I'll go through, more of a soundtrack mind, and then go back to stoner or to doom or to, whatever else is in my uh, phone, and then on my shelf. I collect CDs. I don't have room to collect albums, unfortunately, like vinyl,
They're
because
they're
I have.
expensive, man.
Well, it's more about the space, because I
Space,
also
yeah.
collect a lot of, like, I collect video games, I collect CDs. I'm a big physical media person, because if you buy it, they can't take it away from you. It doesn't go off
That
of
is true.
streaming.
You never know if like Spotify will just delete.
I've seen them delete bands, and I'm like,
Oh, I
no,
know.
yeah,
Like for example, I'm a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan, and
uh-huh,
Zeitgeist is not in there.
yep.
And and I used to have that CD, but my parents threw away my CDs.
Oh no.
Yeah, but
There's a Voivod album or two that's not up there either. That I have
yeah,
it
I
on my
think it's
shelf.
some licensing stuff
Oh,
or
absolutely, yeah.
some
And I get why
bureaucracy shit.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all licenses and labels and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I my wife's kind of hit on it. Like, she's like, a lot of you buy a lot of bands, and because the flip side is, a lot of most people, once they hit a certain age, they just kind of like the same bands that they've always liked, and that's fine. Like, I mean, I still have
yeah.
tons of bands that I still listen to,
Not
but
me.
for
I keep
me,
evolving and listening to new stuff.
I can't stop, and I'll go to a show and go, wow, that, like, I have to have that CD. That band just spoke to me.
There's a
Like
band from
that.
Puerto Rico that I think you would like,
Oh,
and
send
they
it my
play.
way.
Yeah, they're called Moths, Moths. They're really good, and they're kind of like a stoner progressive type of band. Really good female vocals. Really good band. You'll probably dig them.
That sounds
So
great. I mean, oh yeah, because other villagers of an Ionian city, they're also
mhm.
good. But what I was correct. Odalith was the name of the band, and I saw them at Ripple Fest. They have two electric violinists who are
Oh
also
wow,
the vocalists, and it was such a cool, interesting sound, and such a neat idea. Like, I love kind of when people play with different instrumentation, and that was one of the standouts. There were a lot of great bands. High Desert Queen, who are good friends of ours, for example, their new album is great, and they always put on a good show. So there were so many good bands there, but that was one of those where I really looked and went, I've heard similar things, but I haven't heard that. And just the vocal performances, there was a kind of a tiny bit of a Neurosis vibe, the way they weave things in and out. That band is super cool. Haunted from Italy, also, I'm not remembering. I don't know. I could probably go for another 10, 15 minutes
no,
once my brain starts going. But
it
yeah,
seems that yeah.
I keep going. I keep getting albums, because I think that I was a music fan. That's why I wanted to start a band. Um, I was never in a band that were like, hey, we got drunk all the time. We got lots of chicks. That was never any band I was in. Like, I definitely, I don't know. Maybe I was too nerdy. Didn't have groupies, anything like that. But it was really for the music.
Yeah.
Kind of, I guess, whether I wanted to or not. But but in general, like, I'm a music fan first, and that's what made me want to play music, and to that I felt that in my soul. I want to, and that's my goal when I make music is, yes, it's for yourself, because you want to feel it. But if I could just have somebody, like, sit down with an album, maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe they just want to kind of, you know, not care, like they put on an album, they just want to absorb it.
An
And I
escape.
can bring that to somebody,
Yeah.
that there's no feeling like that. And I hope that's always my goal. If I could do that to even one person, I've done a good job.
Yeah, that's what music should be, an escape. Just
Yeah.
put that album and just for 50 minutes or whatever the length, just let your mind wander.
Yeah.
So the album is out on the 18th. Where can people pre-order the album?
Uh, pre-orders are all on Bandcamp. And right now, as far as CDs go, mainly in the US, shipping's pretty crazy. So we don't have a distributor. It's all DIY. It's all me going to the post office as much as possible. But digitally, you can pre-order on Bandcamp, and it'll be Spotify, you name it. So we're going through TuneCore and is there. And if you right now, if you pre-order also digitally, you get the singles plus Crash Down if anybody pre-orders right now. So kind of get into the story, right?
Yeah. So I'll put the link for people who want to pre-order that. So yeah, I would recommend this album to people who like stoner rock and concept album, sci-fi, everything we've been talking for the last almost an hour.
Oh yeah.
People will like it. So Tony, I want to thank you for taking some time of your night, to chat with me about music, sci-fi, books, you name it. It's been pretty fun chat. So people, Deserts of Mars, the album is out on the 18th. So pick that up. And the name is Dead Planet Exodus, which I think it's a great album title. So anything you'd like to say to the people before we go, Tony?
Well, first I want to thank you as well. The reason I wrote Temporal Vampires, for example, is time is the thing you can't get back. So you taking the time to talk to me means the world. Also, all over the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm in
So
Texas, you're in
Temple
Puerto
of
Rico. This is great.
Vampires is not about Antonio Banderas' character in Interview with the Vampire.
That would be great, but no, it's all about the people who waste all of your time and take it from you.
That
But
movie, Armand, you're so beautiful, Armand.
fantastic. I also love those books. But in general, yeah, I hope everybody loves the album. This was definitely a labor of love. We've been getting really good feedback so far, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to it. And I also took a lot of time to craft kind of the flow of the album. I hope people will put on their headphones or play it on a good system and just take it from front to back, like top to bottom. Here's this concept, and I hope people enjoy it. We want to push it as far as we can, and we hope to eventually see everybody out on the road as well, playing in a town near them. But for everybody across the world, I also wanted to thank them for sticking with us all this time. It's been a long, winding road to get here, and it's people checking out the music and hanging out that really keep us going. So I appreciate that. I can't thank everyone enough. That's why I do it.
Yeah, without people to hear the music, that there's no fun. So yeah, Tony, thank you again, and I really enjoyed chatting with you. Hopefully, like we'll chat again,
That sounds
or maybe
great. Anytime. Reach out. Email me, hit me up
I'll,
on social media.
I'll email you
This is great.
because we have we do some shows here on the Shield on a Couch where we talk about albums, we talked about anniversaries, and we also have a series where we talk about bad albums. And we rate them in a panel and we see was the album that bad. So that's pretty interesting as well. So
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
always looking for people who want to do that. So again, Tony,
Awesome.
thank you from joining me from Austin here to Puerto Rico. So until next time, couchers, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a Couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.